Today we're going to look at 5.3. We're going to be doing some factoring, but this time we are either going to have binomial or a trinomial, so we have more than just one term. And we're going to divide that by a number or another term. So in order to work these, what we want to do is, since there are two terms on top, we want to make two fractions. So we want to put each part of the numerator over the denominator. Now we have two parts that you were yesterday. So if we look at this one, we start with our coefficients. What is 5 divided by 5? 1. So we could write 1, but then we only have an m, so we could write 1m, or we just probably will write m. And we have 35 divided by 5 is 7. So often what people want to do is they want to skip the step of rewriting those two parts. But then what happens is they might divide one part, but they forget to divide the second. So we must do both of the parts. So let's do one that has more variables. So we have 26uv minus 39v all divided by 13v. So again, we have two parts in our numerator. We have a binomial, so we need to have two fractions. Again, it's an extra step, a little bit extra work, but it helps you keep things straight. Okay. So let's start with our coefficients. 26 divided by 13, 2. We have 1u, or u to the first. V divided by v cancels, so it's gone. Minus 39 divided by 13 is 3. Our v's cancel. That's what we're left with. So we are making problems simpler is our main goal. You are not going to get an exact answer, but you're going to get a simplified answer. Okay, we're going to do two more. So this one, we have how many terms on top? 3. So it is a trinomial. So how many fractions do we need to make? 3. So we have 3x to the fourth over negative 3x squared. Negative 9x to the third over negative 3x squared. And a y, thank you. Negative 9x cubed y. 6x squared y squared over negative 3x squared. So 3 divided by negative 3. Negative 1. X to the fourth over x squared. We subtract our powers. 4 minus 2 is 2. So we could write it like that, or more than likely, this is how we will see it. Just negative x. Negative 9 divided by negative 3. 3 positive. X to the third over x squared. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then we have just our y. 6 divided by negative 3. Negative 2. X squared. 2 minus 2 is 0. That goes away. We're left with y squared. One last one. This one we're going to have multiple variables in the denominator as well. All right, so again, we have 1, 2, 3 terms on top. Terms are separated by addition or subtraction, so we should then have three fractions. So we have x to the third over y, x to the third y over xy, negative 4x over xy, 6y over xy. Notice I'm not really worrying about the signs until we're done with our division, because a negative is basically a subtraction, so on and so forth. These are like 1, so 3 minus 1 gets us x squared, or y's cancel. Negative 4 divided by 1 is negative 4. Our x's cancel. We have y. 6 divided by 1 is positive 6. Our y's cancel. We're left with x. Where is x in this one? In the denominator, so it needs to stay in our denominator. So we don't want to bring it up. Okay. All right, so what we're doing today. All right, we got one more part. Sorry, I lied. This kind of goes back to what we did Tuesday, I think. I think it was Tuesday. First thing we want to look at is what is our GCF? That's the largest thing that we have in common in both. And so we start with, we see obviously there's a 5, but now what's different is we have variables. They both have an x, or have x's. So we have to figure out what power are we doing. When we're doing GCF, we want to find the common variable. And then use the smaller power. So this one, they both have x's. What's the smaller power of those two? 1. So we could write 5x1 or just 5x. So what these problems are going to say is they're going to say factor. So we have to do two things. First, we have to find our GCF, and then we're going to divide each part by that GCF, like we were just doing on those other problems. So now, what is 5 divided by 5? Goes to 1. X squared over x to the first is x. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Our x's cancel. Now, that's one of our factors, but our other factor was 5x. So we write it in parentheses with our GCF out in front. The reason we do that, if we if we distributed, we would come back to this result. So our final answer, if we factor it, kind of like saying factor 8, we could write it as 2 times 4, because those two things would multiply here. So here it's 5x times x plus 2. Let's do one more of those. All right, so we have 5x to the 5th minus 6x to the 3rd plus 14x. Let's start just with the coefficient. What number could go into both and all three? All even, the largest that can go in is 2. They all have an x, and then what's the smallest power? Just x. So we found our GCF. Now divide each term by that. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 5 minus 1 is 4. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. Our x's cancel. Is this our answer for factor? No, it's part of our answer. And we also need that GCF. So that would be your whole answer. That's your greatest common factor times that whole thing. Now let's look at on 196, 1 to 19 odd, and 31 through 41 odd. So 191, 196, 197, 1 to 19 odd, and then 31 to 41 odd.